If I can't keep my head held high enough, I'll just speak love and watch the smiles come, bring my spirits up. There's some shit I like to fix, but I still know that I'm blessed.
You all know I love history, and we're headed to Pozo Saloon today, which was established in 1858. I've always wanted to visit here for over a decade. Finally, today is the day. Located 17 miles east of Santa Margarita, California, in the once forgotten frontier town of Pozo, the historic Pozo Saloon has welcomed weary travelers since 1858. Can you believe it? I'm so excited. The town of Pozo and its saloon share a history woven together by legend and lore that has been passed down through generations. Try as we might, it's almost impossible to wrangle in this Western landmark's wild past, but one thing we know to be true is that live music, camping, and community gatherings have always been at the heart of this historic hidden gem. Let's go back in history. In 1854, the El Rancho San Jose era. It was known originally as El Rancho San Jose. The town's central location positions itself as a crossroads and gathering place as the American frontier continued to expand out west. 1858, the saloon was established. First things first, no frontier town is complete without a watering hole. Saloons were often among the first establishments to pop up along dusty main streets, and the Pozo Saloon was no different. The community was built on the land surrounding the saloon, with initial shelters called enramadas, made from tree branches, until more permanent housing was eventually built. In 1881, Pozo was officially established. When first applying for a post office in 1878, El Rancho San Jose was already being used up north, inspired by the whole Lake Valley surrounded by hills. The town officially adopts the Spanish word for well, Pozo, as its name in 1881. From the late 1800s to early 1900s, it was the heydays. Complete with a gold rush and even a couple of outlaws, Pozo, at its peak, is the picture of American Wild West. Residents flock to the area for holiday celebrations, live music, and dances, picnics, and barbecues. Such celebrations went on for days, so attendees used the land surrounding the saloon for camping. 1914 to 1967, the saloon closed. What was once a bustling community falls into a deep slumber as prohibition, completion of nearby highways, and the gas rationing of World War II isolate Pozo. The saloon remains closed for the next 47 years. Wow, I didn't know that. 1967, the saloon reopens, and there's a revival. Sheriff Paul Merrick buys the saloon in 1961, and by 1967, it's back to business as usual, hosting live music, dances, and holiday celebrations almost every weekend. As attendance increased, and they partied late into the night, Paul encouraged camping, just like the old days. From 1969 to 2019, history repeats itself. Over the years and throughout changes in ownership, one thing remained constant at the saloon: its role as a community gathering place. As one of the oldest surviving saloons in the state of California, this local landmark became regarded as one of the few authentic examples of days gone by. Presently, they're beginning again. Nomada Hotel Group is working to restore the property. Live music and dining will return to the Pozo Saloon in 2023, and I need to see if that's happened or not. Surviving prohibition and more recently a pandemic, the saloon has stood the test of time. With its original redwood Old West facade and hitching posts remaining beneath the very same cottonwood tree that was planted at its founding over a century ago. Oh my gosh, I love that so much. Even Billy the Kid himself patronized Pozo Saloon. According to a local news source dated July 8, 2022, Pozo will be open for daily service in 2023, once property upgrades are complete. We'll see about that. Even checking out the exterior will be good enough for me today. And the grounds, I know there's history there either way. It's going to be a real treat. Here are some of the more recent tidbits regarding Pozo Saloon. As noted here, from Billy the Kid to Snoop Dogg, the saloon has a very colorful history, including many other notable people who have visited. If you go into any local businesses nearby, everyone has a story to share about Pozo, according to Kimberly Walker, the founder of Nomada Hotel Group, which added the saloon to its roster of renovated vintage properties, along with Hotel Inez and Sky View Los Alamos, as well as Granada Hotel and Bistro in Slow. Thanks to a mini gold rush, the town of Pozo thrived during the mid-1860s, and it was popular among travelers and workers who would rent the enramadas for shelter that were built from branches and canvas attached to the trees until the hotel was built in the early 1900s. After Prohibition, there were closures and different owners until Rhonda Beanway and her husband bought it in 1984. It then became a famous concert destination. Thousands of people from far and wide would flock to see legends like Willie Nelson, the Black Crowes, Snoop Dogg, Ziggy Marley, just to name a few. By the way, we love Willie Nelson and had the pleasure of seeing him live at a different venue a few years back. You can't go on that side, I guess. It'd be considered trespassing. But let's see what we can see. Can't even get over to the placard. So there it is. God, I wanted to go inside really bad. And there's the Pozo fence sign. Let's see if I can zoom in on it and read it later. Pretty roses. Maybe if I double zoom on that. Literally from 1858. Where's the things where you tie up the horses? So neat. See if I can find that. Here's that cottonwood tree. This cottonwood tree was planted when it was built. I don't see the hitching post out here anymore. I could see the concert venue stuff in the back. Yeah, see, you can see some of the stage infrastructure. There's another old little house next door, and that other old one down the way. Oh, someone actually lives in that one. All right, well, that's all we can really see, I guess. Lots of pretty old trees in there. Some junipers. I'll take some pictures of us in a minute. Bobby was walking the dog, now he wants to check it out too. That cottonwood tree is really cool. See if I can see inside. Oh, something just moved over there. What was not a snake? Oh, it's a lizard because I see it. Okay, good. Can't see anything in there, just me. And the horseshoe's correct, up. Don't let the luck run out. And of course, there's a camera filming me while I'm filming this. Okay, I'm gonna go join my man. dog's pulling my arm. There's some horsies out there. It's nice and quiet out here. There's another old house there. Wow, and that shop at that place is really big. And that's how the road continues. Wow, did you hear that bee or bug, whatever that was? All right. Star thistles, those things are horrible. Big problem in California. And this walnut tree right here, I can't show you the whole thing because license plates and stuff, but it's huge. It's as tall as the cottonwood that's been here since the 1850s. All right, we went for a walk. We checked it out best we could. We're gonna check out this little vintage cowboy winery. We use their facilities and patronize their gift shop. Looks cute. They say there's a food truck out here supposedly, but we have our own picnicking stuff. We're gonna go picnic in a cooler spot. Bobby thinks maybe Morro Bay, but we'll see. Why are they gonna park in there? Is that where you have to park? Is this even open? I don't know, we just need to.
It is open.
Huh. It's dark. Oh, they got a big facility out here. Just gonna park along the fence.
What's somewhere here like that?
Neat. Pretty view. Alright. Well, we started this episode with history, and thanks to the knowledgeable, hospitable lady at the winery, we're gonna end this episode with history and a little bit of spooky ghost stuff too. She knew a lot about the places and people going all the way back. Her family's been around the area for a long time, and you all know I love history. So let's dive into Jesse James and his gang. A few couples were inside, tasting and raving about the wines. We appreciated the air conditioning and the ice-cold water. I mentioned how cool the wanted poster was on display for Jesse James, and more stories came pouring out of our host. I cross-checked and did some research on the facts that she provided. So not just Billy the Kid, but Jesse James and his gang, to name a few, including his brother, were in the area. So let's jump in. Jesse lived a short, rebellious life. He was born in 1847 and died in 1882 at 34 years old. He was shot and killed by Bob Ford on April 3rd, 1882. And Bob was a member of Jesse's very own gang. Bob was greedy and wanted the $10,000 reward, and that was a lot of money back then. Today's value would be approximately $300,000. Wow. We don't have rewards that huge anymore. As a matter of fact, in modern times, we offer 1800s reward amounts around $10,000. Kind of trippy. Now let's dive into more Jesse James history, including ghost stories. Ooh. Ooh. In the fall of 1868 through the spring of 1869, Jesse and Frank James, who was his brother, stayed at the adobe of their uncle, Drury James, and his young wife, Louisa. Right after this, in the summer, Drury moved his expected wife to the town of El Paso de Robles. Drury owned Hot Springs Hotel in Paso and is said to have founded the town of Paso. After a bank robbery in Kentucky March 20th, 1868, the James brothers headed to their uncle's ranch to hide out, work, and recover from bullet wounds that Jesse had suffered during the robbery. The James brothers went underground and bathed in their own uncle's hot springs hotel. This helped Jesse's wounds heal. The brothers stayed the year without incident, and the ranch even still has a framed revolver paying tribute to the James legacy. Okay, here's where the curse and ghost story begins. The brothers went to the Motherlode country looking for their father, Robert James's grave, who died in 1850 shortly after he arrived in California. Jesse carved his name on the painted walls of a sacred native shrine and was said to incur the curse of the feathered snake. The summer of 1869, the brothers became restless and anxious to return back to Missouri, so their uncle bought tickets on a steamer destined for the East Coast by way of the Horn, ending the saga of the James brothers in California. In approximately 1890, a fire gutted the interior of the adobe, leaving only the walls standing. It was said, quote, "There was always an eerie aura about the ruins," end quote. Travelers along the road reported shadowy horsemen who disappeared into the darkness without leaving tracks, along with phantom figures darting in and out of the old adobe ruins, and the wails of Indian spirits. Creepy. Natives congregated to harvest acorns in this area during ancient times. There was also a mysterious cross, roughly hewn into the bark of an ancient oak, stimulating tales of buried treasure. Knowing outlaws rendezvoused in the area, eager treasure seekers swarmed to the adobe, poking into corners and digging along the walls. Ranch hands were busy running people off the land, and this enhanced the tales that buried treasure was there. You know, like the forbidden fruit. Once again, during this time, phantom horsemen were spotted in the moonlight or on a late evening or even early morning. Locals knew the James brothers were there, but as long as they behaved during their stay, everyone looked the other way out of respect of their uncle, who was well-liked and respected. That's ironic considering there was a reward to be had. To think Jesse's own gang member did kill him for the reward in the end, but these townsfolk respected his uncle so much, none of them bothered to report the brothers being in the area. Continuing with the irony, Bob Ford was later shot himself. He and his brother Charlie were considered cowards and traitors after killing Jesse. Bob posed for pics in dime museums as, quote, "the man who killed Jesse James," end quote. The brothers also appeared on stage, reenacting the murder in a touring show. Charlie, Bob's brother, was terminal with TB and had a morphine habit. He ended up killing himself May 4th of 1884. On December 26, 1889, the day after Christmas, someone tried to slit Bob's throat and failed in Kansas City, Missouri. But on June 8, 1892, Ed O'Kelly entered Ford's tent saloon with a shotgun. Ford's back was turned, and O'Kelly said, "Hello, Bob." And as Ford turned around, Ed cut loose with both barrels. Ford died instantly. Thus, Ed O'Kelly became, quote, the man who killed Jesse James. He never explained why he shot Bob, and after 7,000 signatures on a petition, Ed was released from jail, October 3rd, 1902. 2 years later, he was also shot and killed while trying to shoot a lawman. Wow, really gives you an idea of the Wild Wild West, doesn't it? Like I said before, the brothers were on good behavior while in Slow County. He was said to be a show-off with his 6-gun, but his targets were ground squirrels and rabbits. Once the brothers went back to Missouri, they became marked men after a bank teller was shot in cold blood during a robbery. Now back to the ghosts. Why would the James brothers come back and haunt the crumbling ruins of the old James adobe? Jesse held a special place for his uncle's ranch and spoke of it. Maybe that's why their ghosts return, seeking to relive one of the happiest times in their lives. let's fast forward to more modern times. This Wild West hideout was listed for sale at $38 million, according to this November 30th, 2020 Forbes article. This gives us a nice photo gallery to glimpse this incredible ranch. The property is 14,750 acres, and it's still a working cattle ranch, and an olive grove as well. The olive grove is on 280 acres. And with this many acres, it's one of the largest contiguous tracts of land in the western United States, particularly in California. Along with all the modern amenities, there are throwback water sources with 50 wells, natural springs, creeks, and 3 reservoirs. And as we drove out there, we did notice the green spots amongst the dry fields, signifying ample natural springs. There's good soil, elk, deer, bear, and a variety of native birds out there. There's a helipad and space for a private airstrip. Side note, have you all noticed how sloppy reporting is nowadays? Autocorrect makes for messy articles. The previous slide from Forbes shows DEAR versus DEER, and Morrow, MORROW Bay versus Morro Bay, MORRO. This Forbes article even states that the ranch is definitely the place to lay low and hide, with or without bullet wounds. All right, we're dialing it in. I was gonna wave to these guys, but they're going on a walk, so real nice couple and their dog, and then this is the lady that ran the tasting room. We didn't have any tasting. We tasted water. It was delicious. And then right back there is the food truck they have. And then Bobby bought that shirt and the toffee that you saw. And we're gonna go to Morro Bay and hang out over there. It should be a lot cooler, and we'll picnic there. So yeah, lovely place. We recommend it, especially if you like wine. There was another couple tasting when we came in, and they're really excited. Like, do you like wine? I'm like, yeah. It was awkward. We're like, no.
Please proceed to the highlighted route. Then the route guidance will start.
Oh, and Jesse James used to hang out here. His dad used to own like all the land out back over that way. And when he would come hide out, sometimes Jesse would lay low at Dad's property. And his outlaw friends. Oh, we're gonna go this way. Okay. Backstage, you know us. Always backstage.
That beautiful reclaim, or they just left it wrong, so it'd be all.
Oh, so it's just rusty. Rustic and rusty. Very nice lady. She knew history. By the way, the building on the way in. Oh, bocce.
What's that game?
Bocce? Is it?
Oh.
I think it's bocce ball. Some Italian thing. Remember that when we were in Murphy's and we were hanging out with Shannon and we were hanging out. What were you laughing about?
It says parking in there.
Overflow parking, right? So anyway, that building on the way in, that's the old schoolhouse that closed down in like the 50s because it wasn't up to code, to California's code, which probably means earthquake stuff, because it's like a stone building. So she had a lot of history. She doesn't know when the saloon's gonna open up again. They're all waiting. Oh, happy trails. Thank you. Very nice. Lovely experience. Nice clean restroom too. All right, let's do.
Proceed.
We've been to Pozo now. Check it off the list. Bobby's had to do at least 3 tours today of the trailer.
If I can't keep my head held high enough, I'll just be love and watch the smiles come.
Thanks for watching.
Bring my spirits up.
Don't forget to stop and smell the flowers.
There's some shit